Welcome back to living in Austin, Texas. With Round Rock, Texas being in such high demand seemingly all the time, in this video we thought we'd go over what nobody will tell you about living in Round Rock, Texas, and hopefully by the end of this video we'll have helped you arrive at your own conclusion as to whether or not it's right for you. Stay tuned. Hey again everybody, this is Frank with the Living in Austin team of agents at eXp Realty. On this channel we put out new content about living in Austin, Texas, the good and the bad, so consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already and ringing that little bell to get notified anytime we put out a new video. We also love the reach outs we get now all the time from people just like you in need of our help when relocating to the greater Austin area. So keep them coming, do not hesitate. Whether you are 9 days away or 90, reach out to our team, whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week. Any time of day, it is what we love to do. So yes, as mentioned in this video, we will be going over what nobody will really tell you about living in Round Rock, Texas. And to be honest, some of it will be positive, other stuff might be negative, just in order to give you a well-rounded idea of what you can expect. So let's waste no more time and get right to it. For starters, I wrote down deceivingly large, and this is something worth mentioning in regards to Round Rock, Texas. Regarding places to live outside of the city of Austin, Texas, you're going to have places like Leander, Texas, or Buda, Texas, or Kyle, Texas, Georgetown, Texas, Cedar Park, Lago Vista, Liberty Hills, so on and so forth. Well, in the case of Round Rock, Texas, it is above and beyond easily the largest of places to live outside of Austin, Texas. So much so that in certain respects, it really does feel like a city just without a skyline. Granted, is the aesthetic of Round Rock, Texas pretty much that of a suburb? Absolutely, but it's kind of like a suburb on steroids with a population of right around 110,000 people. So because of this, yes, it's going to be very large. And the reason this is important to note is because let's say you live in Northwest Round Rock and you're trying to get to downtown Austin. Well, that drive could easily be between 30 and 40 minutes, maybe even more if traffic is a headache. However, let's say you live in Southeast Round Rock, more towards Pflugerville, Texas, and you're trying to get to downtown, for example, then that might be all of 15 or 20, maybe 25 minutes. And then of course, the same can be said if you're trying to get to some place that's not necessarily downtown Austin, because you might be wanting to go to Cedar Park, you might be wanting to go into Leander or wherever it might be. Just keep in mind that wherever you live within Round Rock, Texas is going to determine that commute depending on how often and how far you have to go. Keeping it moving, up next, I wrote down younger than you think. And this is also important to note because for the longest time, Round Rock, Texas has had the reputation of being this family-friendly place, which it is, and being a place with great schools, which it has. However, in recent years, especially with the influx of people we've seen relocate to the greater Austin area, with Austin, of course, being a top hotspot for relocation year after year after year, so many people aren't necessarily wanting to live within the city limits of Austin, Texas, particularly because of its price tag with a median home price downtown of right around $610,000. And so a lot of people look elsewhere, especially places that are a bit removed from the city, but not necessarily super far away. And naturally, with the popularity that Round Rock has, it becomes a destination. And then you factor in how a lot of the tech jobs are located in North Austin, and so many people who are coming here from out of state are doing so for those tech jobs. They look at the proximity between North Austin and Round Rock, which isn't that much. It just does depend again on where in Round Rock you are, but that could easily be 10 to 20 minutes max. Then of course it is yet another reason for people to land in Round Rock, Texas. And so what I'm getting at is not everybody who lands in Round Rock, Texas is going to be with a family with plenty of kids already in middle and high school, or even empty nesters, which yes, there are a fair share of in Round Rock, do not get me wrong, but it is beginning to get younger and younger as young professionals relocate here from out of state, and they find it to be a safe, cool, affordable option with numerous things to do. Many of them, yes, might have small children, many of them, yes, might be wanting to start a family in the future, or maybe they're just going there on their own to start fresh. Moving right along, up next, I wrote down the subject of a lack of scenery. And this is interesting because obviously if you're moving to Texas from a place like Utah, California, Montana, Washington State, Oregon, so on and so forth, places with beautiful scenery, yeah, as soon as you get to Texas, you're gonna realize regardless of where in Texas, that is not going to be the case. And same with Austin and Round Rock. It's not really going to make that much difference once you get that specific. Being in Texas is pretty much going to have farm and ranch land with some hill country sprinkled in there. So why is this relevant to Round Rock, Texas specifically? Well, in defense of the scenery in the greater Austin area, do not get me wrong, there are some places that are very pretty to live. The most obvious example would be the Westlake Hills with a median home price of well over $2 million because yeah, you're literally in the hills and there's lakes nearby and it's stunning. Same with Lakeway, Texas, so on and so forth. But there are more affordable places in the greater Austin area that still have their own fair share of scenery. For example, you could live in Leander, Texas, and there's a subdivision called Grand Mesa at Crystal Falls, which is a bit higher end, but you're overlooking a lot of hills and scenery and it's gorgeous. You might be living in Lago Vista, Texas, which is the north shore of Lake Travis, which is a relatively affordable option when compared to the south shore of Lake Travis, which again is that Lakeway area, very wealthy area. So you have options like that. Even Georgetown, Texas, which is a bit north of Round Rock, is going to have its own fair share of scenery, perhaps in a more rural aesthetic, because a lot of places in Georgetown might have acres or you're close to a lot of nature out there. A lot of the things to do in Georgetown, by the way, are nature-based. So with all of that said, I don't mean to ramble too much, but what I'm getting at is Round Rock, Texas is not going to have anything like that. As mentioned, the aesthetic, if you will, of Round Rock, Texas is most certainly going to be suburbia. And yes, it's pretty. I'm not saying it's a horribly ugly place to live by any means, but you're not really going to have options like that in Round Rock, Texas. And so the reason it's relevant is because, as mentioned, if you are relocating to the greater Austin area from a place where you are accustomed to being surrounded by beautiful scenery, sure, yeah, Texas isn't going to even compare, but at least within the greater Austin area, you will have other more pretty options, if you will. And just to be blunt, which we are on this channel, Round Rock just might not have that much to offer you. Now, real quickly before moving on, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If we've been providing any value for you, consider clicking the like button as it helps our channel grow. Remember to subscribe, and lastly, share our content with anybody you know who might be wanting to learn more about living in Austin, Texas. All right, up next we have the very important subject of traffic. So, as mentioned, Round Rock, Texas is very, very, very large, at least when compared to its neighboring suburbs, towns, and cities outside of the city of Austin, Texas, with a population of well over 100,000 people with a size that is deceivingly large. All these things I mentioned. So, with that, obviously is going to come traffic. And yes, I acknowledge pretty much anywhere anybody can live, unless it's in the middle of nowhere, is going to have some fair share, some degree of traffic, and Round Rock is no different. However, it is getting pretty bad, especially come rush hour time, because if we're already talking about Austin, Texas itself, traffic has gotten so much worse with all the people relocating here all the time that rush hour that used to start at 4, 5, or 6 in the evening now begins as early as 1, 2, or 3 when you are bumper to bumper on those main freeways. So while Round Rock, Texas is going to be between 20 and 40 minutes from the heart of downtown Austin, because of its population, it is still going to get backed up at such an early time. I used to work out of an office in Round Rock, Texas, and I remember dreading going there and leaving there as if it was downtown. And worth mentioning, why do so many people like to live outside of a city? Yes, schools, yes, safety, yes, all of the things that make suburbia desirable, but also to not have to deal with city living traffic. And while it's not directly identical to what you can get in the heart of downtown Austin, I'm not going that far with it, it's still pretty bad. And while other suburbs like Cedar Park or Leander or Georgetown, whatever, will have their own fair share of rush hour, of course, not saying they don't, in my opinion, it pales in comparison to that of Round Rock, Texas. And of course, Round Rock, as it continues to grow, is going to have more construction, and then the construction makes the traffic worse, so it's a mess, you know what I mean? Again, lovely place to live, not trying to be too mean to it, but on this channel, we tell it like it is. And if you're not wanting to deal with traffic, especially if you're not working from home and you have to commute, I would absolutely take that into consideration. All right, keeping it moving regarding what nobody will tell you about living in Round Rock, Texas, I would like to talk about the things to do, but a bit of a flip side to that, right? Because I would imagine anybody talking about Round Rock is going to really brag about the abundance of things it really does have to do. Of all the suburbs or all the towns or options you have outside of the city of Austin, Round Rock is most surely going to be the place that you are the least bored. However, what I feel is the other side of that coin, what people don't really speak about regarding the things to do in Round Rock, Texas, is the fact that a lot of it is going to be your typical family-friendly suburban things to do, which I realize is me being a bit of Captain Obvious, telling you something that you might already say duh to. But in my opinion, it really is something worth thinking about, because in Austin, Texas, for example, you're going to have museums, you're going to have art exhibits, you're going to have music venues, you're going to have all of these amazing things that make Austin, Texas, this amazing hotspot for relocation. And yes, while Round Rock has a ton of its own fair share of things to do, you still might get a little bit bored. Sure, they have the outlet malls. Yes, they have the largest indoor water park in the country, by the way. All of those things are really cool. It has its own downtown. It has its own boutique shops and restaurants and things like that that definitely make it worthwhile. However, you're going to find yourself, at least in my opinion, wanting to get out of Round Rock, Texas and go into downtown Austin if you're really wanting more of a variety of things to do. Is it a deal breaker? In my opinion, no, because as mentioned, you're really not that far away from downtown Austin, but I think a lot of people with the size of Round Rock, with the population of Round Rock, have it in their heads that, oh, I can pretty much get anything that I could do in Austin in Round Rock instead, and some of that might be true, but otherwise, it is not the case. So if you're considering relocating to Round Rock, Texas, I would keep that in mind as well. Now, lastly, regarding what nobody will really tell you about living in Round Rock, Texas, I'd be remiss if I did not unfortunately mention the subject of property taxes. And this goes a bit beyond Round Rock, but it is especially relevant in the case of Round Rock 2, and I'll explain. So for starters, a lot of people who relocate to the state of Texas, not even the greater Austin area, but the state of Texas in general, come from places that have property tax rates of 0.5%, 1%, maybe 1.5%, sometimes 2%. Well, when you're living in the state of Texas, regardless of what city it is, you are easily going to find property tax rates here of 2.5%, 2.75%, 3%, sometimes even above 3%. And yeah, I mean, there's no state income tax and it balances out and there's different ways to look at it, but still, property taxes here will absolutely get you. So in the case of Round Rock, Texas, a place that has brand new schools, a place that has brand new master planned communities, a place that has brand new roads and shopping centers, you are going to find a lot of the time in Round Rock, Texas, especially the more desirable up and coming parts of Round Rock, Texas, are going to have property tax rates above 3% more often than not. Now, do not get me wrong, our team has helped a number of people close in Round Rock, Texas with property tax rates that are much, much, much better than that. So it's not like you only have options around 3%. No, that's not the case. But if you have a taste for something in a nice area that is up and coming, that is brand new, that's when you're really going to see this property taxes bite you. And then, of course, it gets applied to the appraised value of the house, and you're looking at what some people would, I guess, humorously call a second mortgage. And I'm not saying that other suburbs outside of Austin, Texas don't also have pretty bad property tax rates, but with Round Rock's popularity, with its reputation, with its school districts, it is going to be one of the places that has certainly the worst property tax rates. So again, I don't say that to dissuade you, to disenchant you, to turn you off of Round Rock, Texas, but we got to keep it brutally honest. And a lot of people, when they're considering relocating, they get all their ducks in a row, they do their budgeting, they get everything they can sorted out, but so often do they forget to really consider or take into account those damn property taxes. And then oftentimes it bites them too late and they realize what they got themselves into. So it really is not to scare you, but just something for you to be aware of and something for you to expect and factor in to your budgeting regarding relocating to the greater Austin area. So there you have it, a few things that nobody really mentions when it comes to Round Rock, Texas, because yeah, a lot of people will talk about the largest indoor water park. A lot of people will talk about the median home price of $450 compared to $610 downtown. A lot of people will boast about the schools and all of this stuff. And I could talk about that, and I have talked about that in other more in-depth, longer videos, really getting into detail about Round Rock, Texas. But I figured, why not tell the people what they really won't hear from a lot of either people who live there or realtors trying to sell them on it, you know? So yeah, some of these things are good, a lot of them not so good. Ultimately, it boils down to what you prefer and which walk of life you're coming from, what you're after, all that jazz. So it might not be right for you at the end of the day, and that's okay. But if it is, again, that is what we are here for. Either way, our job is to help you relocate to the greater Austin area, make that move as smooth as possible, and find that perfect spot. But again, the only way we can do that is by you reaching out to us. So do not hesitate, whether you are 9 days away or 90, reach out to our team, whether you shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call any day of the week, any time of day. As mentioned on this channel, we put out new content about living in Austin, Texas, the good and yes, the bad. So remember to subscribe if you haven't already and ring that little bell to get notified anytime we put out a new video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Click the like button if we've been providing any value for you. Share it with anybody you know. And until the next one, you guys, my name is Frank. This has been Living in Austin, Texas, and we will absolutely catch you later.